He noticed it one morning, just a faint yellow stain that wasn't there the night before. He brushed it off, thinking maybe it was nothing, maybe it was just sweat or something he ate, maybe it would disappear, like so many small problems do when you ignore them long enough. But the next day it came again, and again it wasn't just the discharge anymore, it was the quiet panic that began to live inside him, the fear that something was wrong, the kind of wrong men don't like to talk about. Because when it comes to their health, especially their private health, silence feels easier than truth. But what if silence is the most dangerous choice of all? You see, yellow discharge in men isn't just a random symptom. It's the body's way of whispering something inside isn't right. Sometimes that whisper is mild, an infection that can be treated easily. But sometimes it's a scream waiting to happen, a hidden disease building quietly in the shadows. Most men don't know that the body gives signs long before things get serious. They just don't listen. They don't want to seem weak or embarrassed or judged, so they keep it secret, hoping it goes away. But health doesn't care about pride, and ignoring the problem doesn't make it disappear. It only gives it time to grow. Every man who's ever experienced that strange yellow discharge goes through the same emotional cycle. First confusion, then denial, then fear. You start replaying everything in your mind. What caused this? Was it an infection? Something you did? Something someone gave you? You start searching online at 2 a.m., trying to find reassurance, but all you find are more questions and stories that make your heart race faster. You start to realize how little men actually know about their own reproductive health, because society never really taught them. From a young age, boys are taught to tough it out, to hide their vulnerabilities. But when it comes to your body, ignorance isn't strength, it's risk. Yellow discharge can mean several things. Sometimes it's a bacterial infection like gonorrhea or chlamydia, both of which are sexually transmitted. Sometimes it's urethritis, inflammation of the urinary tract, often caused by bacteria. And sometimes it's even due to non-sexual causes like urinary infections or irritation from soaps or chemicals. But no matter the cause, one thing is constant: your body is speaking. The discharge, the burning sensation, the discomfort when urinating, the pain that lingers quietly, they're all messages. And the sooner you listen, the sooner you heal. Most men never get the help they need early because of one dangerous thought: it'll go away. They convince themselves it's minor. They wait. Weeks pass and the infection spreads silently. What could have been treated in a few days with antibiotics turns into something deeper, more painful, more complicated. The bacteria move upward, affecting the prostate, the bladder, even the testicles. And suddenly it's not just discomfort anymore, it's pain, fever, fatigue, sometimes even infertility. But it didn't have to reach that point. The hardest part is that many men don't even realize how common this is. Millions of men every year silently deal with infections that start exactly this way. Small signs, small changes, small warnings. But they never talk about it. The shame keeps them quiet. The fear of being judged, of being labeled, of being questioned. And yet what's truly shameful isn't having a problem, it's letting pride stop you from solving it. There's nothing unmanly about seeking help. There's nothing embarrassing about protecting your health. In fact, real strength is in confronting what scares you most. Treatment for yellow discharge always starts with the truth, a proper diagnosis. Too many men try self-medication, buying random pills or using herbal mixes without even knowing what's wrong. That's like trying to fix a car without opening the hood. Every infection is different. Bacterial infections like gonorrhea or chlamydia require antibiotics prescribed by a professional. Urinary tract infections might need a different class of medicine. Even fungal or non-infectious irritations require specific care. The only way to know is through testing. A simple urine test, a swab, a lab check. It's not as scary as it sounds. Within a few days, you can know exactly what's happening and start treatment. And here's the truth many don't realize. Once you start the right medication, the improvement is fast. Within days, that discharge can stop, the pain can fade, and your confidence can start returning. But if you keep hiding from the problem, it grows darker emotionally and physically. There's also the emotional side of all this. Men who experience yellow discharge often carry invisible weight. They start losing self-esteem. They avoid intimacy. They question their worth. They feel guilt even if they did nothing wrong. They start believing they're broken. That's the psychological damage infections can do when they go untreated. The mind becomes infected with fear long before the body heals. And that's why education is so powerful. Because when you understand what's happening, the fear starts to lose its power. You realize that infections are not curses. They're signals, warnings, reminders to take care of yourself. The body has an incredible ability to heal when you give it the chance. And the first step toward healing is honesty. Prevention is not complicated, but it requires consistency. Protection during intimacy is the first and most effective step. Using condoms, maintaining hygiene, and avoiding multiple unprotected encounters reduces the risk dramatically. Hydration helps too. Water flushes the system, keeps bacteria from growing, keeps the urinary tract clean. Regular checkups, especially if you're sexually active, can catch infections before they show symptoms. And personal hygiene, cleaning properly, avoiding harsh soaps, wearing breathable cotton underwear can make a huge difference. But more than any of these, the key is awareness. Knowing what's normal for your body, noticing changes, listening to the signals. That's what prevents problems before they start. Sometimes yellow discharge can be a sign of something deeper. Prostatitis, inflammation of the prostate, which can cause similar symptoms. Other times it's linked to lifestyle, dehydration, long periods without urination, or even stress affecting the immune system. The body is an ecosystem. Everything is connected. When you're stressed, your immunity drops. When you don't rest or eat well, bacteria multiply faster. So even though it starts as a small medical symptom, the roots can often be emotional or lifestyle-based too. That's why treatment isn't just about pills, it's about balance. Medicine helps heal the body, but you must also heal the mind that ignored the body for so long. If you've noticed yellow discharge, don't panic, but don't ignore it either. Visit a doctor, get a simple test. Most of the time it's treatable. And remember this, early action is always easier than late regret. The men who act quickly recover fast, and they never look back. The men who wait often end up wishing they hadn't. The body forgives, but only when you help it heal. So don't hide from your health, protect it, respect it, and listen to it. Because what no one tells men is that silence doesn't protect your pride, it only endangers your life. He sat in the waiting room, eyes fixed on the white tiles beneath his shoes, heartbeat louder than the clock ticking on the wall. Around him, people came and went, but his world had shrunk to that single moment, waiting to be called in. He never imagined he'd be here, feeling this vulnerable, this uncertain. A man who once thought nothing could shake his confidence was now afraid of what a small piece of paper might say. When the doctor finally called his name, his legs felt heavy, like they were carrying not just his body, but months of shame, fear, and silence. He tried to explain his symptoms, awkwardly avoiding eye contact, his voice softening as he described the discharge, the discomfort, the burning. But to his surprise, the doctor didn't judge. There was no shame in the doctor's tone, just concern. Because to a professional, this wasn't about embarrassment or morality, it was about health, something every human deserves to protect. And in that moment, something shifted inside him. He realized that the fear was never about the infection itself. It was about being seen as weak. But the truth was, walking into that clinic was the strongest thing he had done in a long time. The doctor explained what could be happening: urethritis, gonorrhea, chlamydia, or a non-specific bacterial infection. Words that sounded complex, heavy, scientific, but behind those names were simple facts. Bacteria that enter the body grow silently and cause inflammation. Some come from unprotected contact, others from poor hygiene or a weakened immune system. The doctor ordered a few tests, urine samples, a swab, and said the results would be ready soon. As he left the clinic, he felt both lighter and heavier. Lighter because he had taken the first step, heavier because now he had to face whatever came next. The next few days felt endless. Every small pain, every trip to the bathroom, every thought circled back to one question: what if it's serious? He thought about how men are trained to never show fear, to never appear fragile, but he now saw how dangerous that mindset could be. It stops men from seeking help until things become painful, until infections spread, until their health screams for attention. When the results came back, the doctor sat him down and explained it clearly: a bacterial infection, easily treatable with antibiotics.
It wasn't a death sentence, not even close. It was a wake-up call. He listened as the doctor described the treatment plan, a course of antibiotics, hydration, rest, no sexual activity until cleared, and follow-up testing. Simple steps that could restore everything he feared he had lost. He started his medication that evening. Within days, the discharge lessened, the burning faded, and a new feeling took over, relief. But it wasn't just physical healing, it was the realization that most of the suffering came not from the infection itself, but from the silence. He could have saved himself weeks of anxiety if he had gone earlier. He realized how many men are out there right now, going through the same fear, too ashamed to speak, too scared to seek help. He wanted to tell them, you're not alone, it's just a medical issue, not a measure of your worth. That's the message most men need to hear. Yellow discharge doesn't make you less of a man. It doesn't mean you're dirty, broken, or shameful. It simply means something in your body needs attention. The real danger isn't the discharge itself, it's the delay. Because bacterial infections multiply fast. What starts in the urethra can climb up into the bladder, even the kidneys, spreading inflammation and pain. Untreated infections can lead to prostatitis, a deep ache in the lower abdomen, painful urination, and fatigue that doesn't go away. In the long term, it can even affect fertility, making it harder to have children. These are things men never imagine when they decide to wait it out. They think time will heal it, but time only helps if you use it wisely. And yet the cure is often so simple: a doctor's visit, a prescription, a few days of care. It's not weakness to ask for help, it's wisdom. The most powerful healing doesn't come from medicine alone, it comes from awareness. When men start to understand their bodies, to know what's normal and what's not, they take back control. They stop living reactively and start living preventively. They stop letting fear dictate their health decisions, because fear feeds ignorance, and ignorance feeds danger. But education ends both. Yellow discharge is often an early warning sign. It's like a smoke alarm, small, annoying, but life-saving if you listen. It warns you before the fire spreads, and when you act quickly, the outcome is almost always good. That's why awareness campaigns, honest conversations, and videos like this matter. They replace stigma with understanding. They teach men that talking about health isn't embarrassing, it's empowering. Once the infection cleared, he started noticing how much better he felt, not just physically, but mentally. The anxiety that had haunted him was gone. He slept better, he felt lighter. But what changed most was his mindset. He began reading about male reproductive health, something he had never paid attention to before. He learned that the body has patterns, signals, rhythms.
And if you listen closely, it tells you what it needs. He realized that neglecting health was never about being strong, it was about being uninformed. And information, once you have it, changes everything. That's when he made a decision. Never again would he ignore his body's signals, no matter how small, because no man should have to suffer in silence for something that's so easily treatable. There's a lesson in every symptom, and yellow discharge teaches one of the most important ones, that pride has no place in health. If you're feeling symptoms right now, if you've been hiding it, hoping it'll vanish, understand this: you deserve to feel okay. You deserve to get checked, to heal, to breathe freely again without fear. The discomfort you're feeling isn't permanent, but the damage from waiting can be. And if you're watching this for someone else, a friend, a brother, a partner, remind them that caring about their health isn't a sign of weakness. It's an act of love, both for themselves and for the people who care about them. Every man deserves that honesty with himself. Healing also means breaking habits that invite infections back. Staying hydrated, urinating after intimacy to flush bacteria, maintaining hygiene, wearing clean underwear, and avoiding prolonged wetness or tight clothing. These aren't just hygiene rules, they're prevention habits. And when combined with awareness and medical guidance, they turn vulnerability into strength. You start to feel in control again. The anxiety disappears. The body feels lighter. Because prevention isn't just about avoiding sickness, it's about maintaining confidence and peace of mind. He looked at himself in the mirror one morning and realized something powerful. It wasn't the discharge that had stolen his confidence, it was the silence, the fear of being judged, the hesitation to speak, the constant overthinking. That's what truly weakens a man. The moment he chose honesty over ego, healing began. And maybe that's the real lesson behind this hidden danger, that the body isn't the enemy, it's your ally trying to protect you, trying to alert you, trying to heal you. All you have to do is listen. When the body begins to heal, the mind often lags behind. Even after the discharge stopped and the pain was gone, something inside him still felt fragile. He looked normal again, healthy again, but emotionally he was still living with the echoes of fear. The memory of those uncertain days, the shame he carried, and the silence that nearly broke him, they left scars you couldn't see. He found himself hesitating during moments of intimacy, second-guessing every small sensation, worrying the infection might return. He realized that recovery wasn't just about antibiotics and hydration. It was about rebuilding trust with his own body. Because once your body betrays you, or at least feels like it has, learning to feel safe in it again takes time. But what he didn't know then was that this experience would change him in ways that went far beyond his health. It would teach him empathy, responsibility, and awareness. It would make him the kind of man who not only listens to his body, but also helps others do the same. In the weeks that followed, he noticed something different in himself, a new kind of awareness. He paid attention to what he ate, how much water he drank, how stress affected him. He realized that his body had been giving warnings long before the discharge appeared. Subtle fatigue, burning when urinating, a feeling of heaviness in the lower abdomen. But he had been too distracted, too disconnected to notice. Most men are. They go through life ignoring the whispers of their health until those whispers turn into screams. The truth is, infections like these don't happen overnight. They build up slowly, layer by layer, until one day the signs become impossible to ignore. Understanding that pattern helps break it. When you start noticing early signs, slight discomfort, unusual color, pain, odor, that's when you can act before it becomes serious. But it requires a kind of emotional maturity, a willingness to admit that something might be wrong. And that humility, that courage to care, is something most men never talk about, but desperately need to learn. His relationship had suffered during those months. The fear of infecting his partner, the anxiety, the withdrawal, it created distance. He didn't know how to explain what was happening without feeling judged. And like so many men, he tried to protect her by keeping his pain private. But in doing so, he only built a wall between them. When he finally opened up, when he told her everything, the symptoms, the doctor visit, the treatment, something unexpected happened. She didn't judge. She didn't turn away. Instead, she supported him. She helped him remember his medication, reminded him to stay hydrated, encouraged him when the anxiety crept back in. And that's when he realized how wrong he had been. Silence doesn't protect love. Honesty does. Health isn't just an individual responsibility. It's something that affects every relationship you're part of. Because when you're not well, it ripples through your emotions, your confidence, your behavior. When you heal, everything around you starts to heal too. There's a deep connection between physical infection and emotional health. When your body is fighting something, your mind feels it. The fatigue, the irritability, the loss of confidence. You start withdrawing, avoiding people, losing motivation. Many men mistake these emotional changes for weakness, but they're not. They're signals too. The same way the body sends physical signs, the mind sends emotional ones. Anxiety, overthinking, guilt, they're symptoms of emotional imbalance caused by fear and uncertainty. Healing from something like yellow discharge isn't just about curing bacteria, it's about restoring inner peace. Because the truth is, once you've gone through it, you can't go back to the old ignorance. You become more aware, more cautious, more connected to your health. That's the hidden blessing in what once felt like a curse. Lifestyle plays a bigger role in male health than most realize. A diet low in nutrients, lack of hydration, smoking, alcohol, and stress, all of these weaken the immune system, making it easier for infections to take hold. But when you start taking care of yourself, eating fruits, vegetables, drinking plenty of water, getting enough sleep, your body becomes a fortress. Simple choices like reducing sugar and processed food can make a real difference. Certain foods like garlic, yogurt, and cranberry juice support natural defense against bacteria. Regular exercise improves blood flow, boosts immunity, and balances hormones. And managing stress, whether through meditation, prayer, breathing, or quiet walks, keeps your system strong. Because when the mind is at peace, the body functions better. Many men think of health in fragments, one issue here, another there, but everything is connected. A strong mind supports a strong body, and a healthy body fuels a confident mind. He began sharing his experience quietly, first with close friends, then in online forums.
To his surprise, so many men related they had gone through the same thing but never told anyone. Some had suffered for months, even years, because they were too embarrassed to see a doctor. Others had self-medicated until things got worse. One man told him he had lost a relationship because of it. Another said he developed chronic pain. Hearing those stories broke his heart, but also gave him purpose. Because in every story of silence, he saw his old self. And in every story of healing, he saw hope. That's when he realized that talking about this openly, without shame, could save others. Because information heals, conversations heal, and no matter how personal a problem may seem, someone else has already lived it, survived it, and turned it into strength. He started to see the bigger picture, how men are conditioned to suffer quietly. Society celebrates physical strength, but ignores emotional intelligence. It praises endurance, but forgets the importance of self-care. From childhood, boys are taught to man up, to hide pain, to never show weakness. But that same conditioning is what makes so many men ignore health problems until it's too late. The hidden danger isn't just the infection, it's the mindset that keeps men from getting help. That's why awareness matters. It's not about fear, it's about freedom. When you understand your body, you stop being afraid of it. You start treating it with respect instead of neglect. And you start realizing that caring for your health doesn't make you less of a man, it makes you more of one. Recovery taught him that masculinity isn't about pretending to be invincible. It's about taking responsibility for your well-being. It's about being honest with yourself, admitting when something's wrong, and taking action. It's about choosing life, health, and truth over ego. And in doing so, he discovered something else, compassion. Because once you've been through something that humbles you, you start seeing others differently. You become kinder, more understanding. You stop judging. You start helping. His experience with yellow discharge wasn't just a medical chapter, it was a transformation. He learned that even pain can be a teacher, even shame can become strength, and even fear can lead to wisdom when you face it head on. So many men live in fear of their own biology. They see the body as something to conquer, not care for. But the real power lies in balance, knowing when to fight and when to heal, when to rest and when to act. And yellow discharge, though it may seem like a small thing, is one of those signals that teach men to pause, listen, and care. Because every symptom, no matter how embarrassing, is a message from your body asking for attention, not judgment. And when you answer that call, you don't just heal your body, you heal the silence generations of men have carried. Months passed and life slowly returned to normal. The fear that once haunted his mornings was gone, replaced by calm routine and gratitude. What had begun as a frightening health scare became a story of awakening. He learned to check in with himself, not just physically, but emotionally. Every day he carried a quiet reminder, never ignore what your body tries to tell you, because it's not just about surviving illness, it's about learning from it. And what he learned was simple but powerful. Your health is not separate from your identity, it's the foundation of it. You can't be confident, loving, or strong if you're silently suffering. Real confidence comes from knowing you're taking care of yourself. Real manhood comes from responsibility, the kind that starts within. That lesson changed him forever. He began noticing how many men around him lived disconnected from their health. They would talk about work, money, cars, success, everything except their well-being. Some of them drank too much, smoked too often, slept too little, and laughed off every sign their body tried to show. But behind that laughter were quiet struggles, pain, infections, exhaustion, depression. He realized that men weren't naturally careless, they were taught to be. They were raised in cultures where speaking about private health is seen as weakness. But that silence was killing them slowly, because what you don't face grows, and what you don't talk about controls you. That's why awareness matters, not just for yellow discharge, but for every unspoken issue men silently battle. When he began sharing his story more openly, something remarkable happened. People listened. They messaged him privately, thanking him for speaking out, admitting they were dealing with the same issue, but never had the courage to talk about it. Some said they finally booked a doctor's appointment after watching his video. Others said they stopped feeling ashamed. That was when he understood the real purpose behind pain, to transform it into light for others still walking in the dark. Because when one man speaks honestly, it gives permission for thousands more to do the same. That's the ripple effect of truth. The discharge had been just a symptom, but the real illness had been silence. And now he was curing it one conversation at a time. He often thought about how easily his story could have ended differently. If he had kept ignoring it, if he had chosen pride over help, his infection might have spread, maybe caused permanent damage, maybe even changed his life forever. But one decision changed everything, the decision to act. It reminded him that health doesn't demand perfection, it only asks for attention. Everybody has its weaknesses, its vulnerabilities, but that doesn't make it broken, it makes it human. And the more we accept that, the more we start to heal. He learned that prevention wasn't just a medical act, it was a mindset. It was about creating habits that protect you long before problems begin.
drinking enough water, staying active, keeping hygiene clean and simple, avoiding unprotected contact, and listening to your body. But it was also about emotional hygiene, managing stress, resting well, talking openly about what bothers you. Because stress weakens the immune system more than people realize. Anger, guilt, shame, they all weigh down the body, making it vulnerable. Healing means clearing that weight, forgiving yourself for the mistakes, learning from them, and choosing to grow. That's how a man becomes stronger, not by pretending he's invincible, but by evolving through vulnerability. He began to see health as a circle, mind, body, and emotion connected in harmony. Ignore one and the others suffer. Take care of one and the others rise with it. He started eating better, sleeping more, taking breaks when his mind needed rest. He noticed his energy improving, his mood stabilizing, his confidence rebuilding naturally. The more he cared for himself, the more life seemed to open up again. His relationships deepened, his work improved, and his laughter returned. It wasn't about the absence of illness anymore. It was about the presence of peace. And that's what so many men don't realize, that taking care of yourself is not selfish. It's necessary. You can't protect your family, succeed in life, or enjoy love if you're quietly falling apart inside. Every man deserves to feel whole. Every man deserves to be healthy, physically, mentally, emotionally. And if you're listening to this and you've noticed something unusual, any symptom, any change, any discomfort, let this be your reminder. Don't wait. Don't assume it's nothing. Don't let fear decide for you. You owe your body the same loyalty you give to everything else. Go get checked, get treated, get better. You are not alone. You are not broken. You're human, and being human means learning, healing, and growing stronger with every lesson. The story of yellow discharge is more than a medical explanation. It's a mirror held up to men everywhere. It reflects how we deal with fear, how we hide pain, how we pretend strength while craving help. But it also shows how easy it is to turn that around. The moment you speak, you take power back. The moment you act, you start to heal. And once you heal, you begin to help others. That's the quiet revolution men's health needs. Not one of pride, but one of honesty. Not one of silence, but one of conversation. Because knowledge saves lives. Awareness saves lives. And courage, the courage to face what's uncomfortable, saves more than just your body. It saves your spirit. He no longer saw that chapter as a dark one. He saw it as the moment his life turned toward light. The infection that once filled him with fear became a teacher. It taught him that the body is not something to be ashamed of. It's something to understand, respect, and protect. It taught him that masculinity isn't measured by how much you can hide, but by how much truth you can face. It taught him that real healing begins when you stop running from yourself. And maybe in a quiet way, that's what this whole journey was about. Learning that health isn't just about surviving disease, but about becoming whole again.
So if you're watching this right now, and you've been hiding something, a symptom, a fear, an uncertainty, take this as your sign. Don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait until it hurts too much to ignore. Your health is your responsibility, but it's also your right. You deserve to feel confident, clean, strong, and free. Go see that doctor. Take that test. Ask that question, because the sooner you act, the sooner your story turns from fear into freedom. You are not the only one. You are not alone in this. And one day when you're on the other side of it, you'll realize what he did. That the greatest strength a man can show is not hiding his pain, but healing it. And that's the truth no one tells men. That yellow discharge was never the real danger. The real danger was pretending nothing was wrong. But once you face it, once you understand it, once you treat it, you win. You reclaim your body, your peace, your confidence. Because healing doesn't just fix what's broken, it reminds you that you were never broken to begin with, just human, just learning, just growing stronger, one honest moment at a time.